Welcome to the Reality Check podcast. I'm Zachary Phillips. In today's episode, I'm interviewing Leanne and James about their 2-year-old daughter, Ava. Ava is currently receiving treatment for stage 4 neuroblastoma. Neuroblastoma is a very rare, very aggressive form of childhood cancer. It's a cancer that primarily affects the adrenal nerve cells. She has a primary tumour in her abdomen and the adrenal gland above her left kidney. This tumour is so large that it's half the size of her liver and is squashing her kidney completely. She's also had several other tumours in her bones themselves. The cancer is in her bone marrow, her blood and lymphatic system. It's even spread into her skull bones and eye sockets. The current rates for survival of Ava's kind of cancer is on average 40%. Ava has started treatment. She has multiple surgeries down. She has a central line, an NG tubes placed, ovaries removed and harvested, stem cells harvested, 7 blood and platelet transfusions, and a lot of medicine and blood tests. She's undergone x-rays, ultrasounds, MRIs, MIBG scans, and had multiple other treatments, including weekly dressing changes. Currently, she's undergoing her 4th cycle of chemotherapy. If her treatments are successful, there is still a 75% chance of relapse. This would mean that the cancer would come back after about 6 to 9 months, and if that does happen, the survival rates are quite low. So that brings us to the reason for this interview and how I met Leanne and James. A couple of days ago, I was at a charity jiu-jitsu event, and at that event, it was to help raise money for a vaccine that basically, it's a trial vaccine that's taking place in America that, when implemented, it basically treats or stops a relapse of neuroblastoma in kids. It's been out for about 5 years, and they're yet to see a child that's had this new vaccine come back down with neuroblastoma. Unfortunately, it's not funded by a big pharmaceutical company or governmental support, which means the parents need to raise the money for themselves. The vaccine itself costs approximately 225,000 Australian dollars. And then, of course, there's the cost of the many trips back and forth to the US, as well as all the associated costs with that. So the purpose of this interview is to help them to raise awareness for their cause, as well as to provide some information out there. If you hear their story and you would like to help contribute, there'll be a link to their GoFundMe page. I'm here with James and Leanne. I met James yesterday, actually, at a charity event to raise some funds for your daughter, Ava.
Yes, you did. We attended a mixed martial arts and grappling event at Adrenaline MMA. The owner and head coach put on an event to try and raise money for us to get the vaccine for Ava.
So the first time that I came across Ava's story was through, Adrenaline's promotion as a jiu-jitsu competition. I'm heavily into martial arts, and I heard about the story and went and supported my team there. And they said, can you help you guys out a little bit more? And basically, maybe we'll get a little bit of backstory into Ava's story, why you need the vaccine, what that's all about, and how much money you have to raise, and the challenge and all that sort of stuff. Maybe you can give us a little bit of a rundown of the overview, and then we can dig deep. What do you think?
Yeah, that's fine. So Ava turned 2 on the 24th of March, and shortly after her 2nd birthday, she became quite sick. We didn't really know what was wrong with her, particularly. She just was very lethargic, very upset, wasn't sleeping. That was really the only symptoms. There wasn't really anything else. She was just not herself. We took her to the GP a couple of times over about an 11-day period, and we're told she had a virus, then we're told she had a UTI and gave her antibiotics, but she just seemed to get worse and worse. And she had persistent high temperatures. So in the end, both James and I made the decision to take her to the Royal Children's Hospital A&E, which we're very glad we did that in the end. It's quite far for us, over an hour journey, but we chose that particular one because we knew that they would know what they're talking about. And we went there. They took it seriously straight away because of the temperatures that had lasted for 11 days. Were looking for something completely different at first. They were looking for an infection in the joint, and did ultrasound, x-rays, and then eventually did an MRI scan as well, which was the next day from the day that we got in A&E. And yeah, they came back in. I was expecting them to just let us go home. James wasn't there at that point. It was just me and Ava, and about 6 doctors walked into the room, and I noticed that one of them had a pin on that said oncologist. So I knew straight away what they were going to say. And yes, they said that they had found from the MRI scans that Ava has tumours. And then the specialist oncologist, the lead oncologist, sat me down, and when James came in, sat James down, both of us together, to explain that she does have cancer. The cancer that Ava has is a cancer called neuroblastoma. Neuroblastoma is a childhood cancer, so it's usually in under 5 years old. It is a rare cancer, and it is also very aggressive. It is a cancer that affects the adrenal glands, really, more than anything else, the adrenal cells, and rapidly spreads across the body. So Ava had a tumour, half the size of her liver, so quite large, considering the liver's the biggest organ. And that was in the adrenal gland above her kidney. And she had several tumours within her bones, and the cancer had spread throughout her bone marrow, throughout her blood and her lymph glands as well. So it's essentially everywhere in her body. So that's classed as stage 4, high risk neuroblastoma. Low prognosis for survival, unfortunately. However, seems to be doing very, very well so far with treatment. They were really good in the Royal Children's. We didn't go home. We were there for 3.5 weeks, and within a week and a half of being diagnosed, she'd already begun chemotherapy.
Yeah.
So Ava's treatment, because it's high risk, is a lot of treatment. The most amount of treatment you can have.
So chemotherapy.
Chemotherapy.
What other treatments are there? Or is it just progression of chemotherapy treatments?
It's chemotherapy for 5 cycles. Cycle 5 being a very, very strong chemotherapy, and the purpose of it is to basically kill off all bone marrow in the body beyond repair, so the body can't grow it back, essentially. So then she will have to have a bone marrow transplant, or a stem cell transplant, and she also has to have surgery. So she will have surgery to remove the main tumour, which is actually coming up in a couple of weeks' time. That surgery will be about 6 to 8 hours. It's a very, very complex surgery. It takes a long time. She then has to go through a month of radiotherapy, which will be daily, Monday to Friday, every day for a month. And then she has to have 6 months of immunotherapy treatment as well, which essentially immunotherapy is new, quite new. People don't really know what it is, but it's a treatment that essentially helps to unmask the cancer and helps your body to fight the cancer itself. So it uses the immune system and boosts the immune system to fight the cancer. It has very limited long-term side effects, but very, very severe side effects at the time, so it makes them very, very sick. Yeah. Unlike chemotherapy, which has long-lasting side effects for the rest of their life.
Okay. It sounds like you've had a lot of education and learning that you've been forced upon.
Yeah. I also work in this field, which is why, sorry, it's probably so advanced, so over the top, but I work in that field. It's
very comprehensive, but it's good that you do have that background knowledge. I do want to dig down a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
From the time.
Sorry. I do have one moment, like really poignant moment for me, which was we were in what was it called? What was that? You know,
Wallaby ward.
Wallaby ward, when we first got diagnosed, and there was 5 or 6 doctors outside, and they were crying. And when you see doctors crying, you kind of
I don't imagine doctors crying until
So I think that was I'll always remember that. I think I'll always remember that moment
because they know the seriousness of it as well, and it doesn't matter how much they see it; it's still upsetting every time they have to give someone a new diagnosis when they're 2 years old.
So. How old's Ava now?
She's 2. She's 2.5. She turned 2 at the end of March.
So from the progression of the sickness until now is how long? About a year, half a year?
So the progression of the sickness is from diagnosis until now, we've had 2.5 months.
2.5 months.
Yeah, it feels like
Wow.
a long time, but it's actually only been about 2.5 months, and she's already had 4 cycles of chemotherapy. So it's very aggressive. They really treat it fast and they hit it hard.
As soon as it's found, it's just bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a couple of follow-ups that I want to make. Let's just keep going through the medical side of things first.
Okay.
The first one is the why the charity event was raised in the first place, the vaccine. So can you explain just a little bit about what the vaccine will do and why it's needed and that sort of stuff?
Yes, of course. So I'll just explain with neuroblastoma, particularly more so than a lot of other childhood cancers. Neuroblastoma is quite a complex, quite complicated disease, and unfortunately has a very high rate of relapse. So the rate is more than 75%.
So that's like if the chemotherapy works, quote unquote,
And they get clear.
there's a 75% chance of it coming back again.
Exactly,
Okay,
yes. So it tends to be that these children have gone through all this treatment for usually around about 14 months, a year and a half. And then what happens is they get clear of cancer completely. And within 6 to 9 months, they end up back with
6 to 9 months.
Yeah, it's usually around about 6 to 9 months. It comes back. Neuroblastoma, it's usually worse, and it's very, very difficult to treat the second time round. And currently in Australia, there is not really any treatment out there that has been successful in the curing of a relapsed neuroblastoma. So, however, and that's where the vaccine comes into play. In the US, there is a hospital called the Memorial Sloan Kettering Hospital. It's based in New York. They are the leading experts in neuroblastoma, particularly. So they have some of the world's most renowned specialists. They have actually been working for quite some time now. It's now in phase 2 of a clinical trial for a drug. And this drug is essentially meant to be able to stop a relapse in neuroblastoma. So essentially, children who have had neuroblastoma the first time round and have been successfully treated and classed as cured, I guess, or in remission is what they call it, they then receive this vaccine. Now, James and I are still learning a lot about the vaccine itself, so I can't go into massive amounts of detail because we're actually speaking to people at this moment in time to really learn the ins and outs of it. But what we do know is essentially by receiving this vaccine within a very short literally a number of months after all of the treatment is finished and she's classed as in remission, we go over a year period that she goes and she has this vaccine, and the survival rates are more than 90%.
So rather than a 75% chance of remission, you get a 95% chance of
survival
and is there
not
chance
having
of
a recurrence. Yes. So what they found is after 5 years of having of a child who had it the first time round receiving the vaccine, they have not had a reoccurrence.
Wow, 5 years.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
Yeah, which is brilliant. Where you're talking 6 to 9 months where someone has got a relapse without this vaccine. So they've had it's been very, very successful. It is still a trial, and it's also a trial run by a hospital. It's not run by a big pharma company where they usually would sponsor it and they would pay for everything.
So the payment comes on to the parents and
on the parents,
the community around them. So how much?
So the vaccine itself is an exceptional amount of money. It's 225,000 Australian dollars.
Yep.
That
sounds exceptional.
That's just the treatment alone. That doesn't include you getting to New York. That doesn't include any of your... Once a month for almost 12 months. It doesn't include any of your stay or any living costs, essentially, and considering it's on the other side of the world.
Plus work costs of not
being
able to attend work. And
exactly.
Yeah,
so there's big costs that come in to doing something like this.
Yeah.
But it's the chances of her being able to survive past the age of 3, 4 is too much to to turn away. We have to do it.
I've got a 1.5-year-old, and he's thankfully been quite well, but anytime there's anything slightly wrong, myself and my partner, you freak out as a parent. So I couldn't imagine how far I would go, do anything to keep all that chance alive. I wanted to just go a little bit further with the medical side of things. You mentioned for the treatment for Ava at the moment, basically you want to kill the bone marrow. Like I'm sort of, I suppose I'm like dumbing it down because I'm, not familiar as you are.
No, that's fine.
But so you said you want to basically kill the bone marrow and you'll need a bone marrow transplant.
Yes.
How I'm a little bit ignorant on the topic, but does that require a donation from one of you two, or I'm not sure how bone marrow.
No, that's
works.
fine. It's a really really good
helping
question.
people listening as well.
It's a really good question because I didn't even know myself so much at the time. Actually, what they have done is it's quite clever. They use her own stem cells. So. Okay. And at first, the puzzled look is what I had on my face.
Like if it's through the lymph system, you'd imagine it would be through
her everywhere. Her bone marrow.
Stem cells are like magic, though, aren't they?
They are, and this is what it took me a while to get my head around because I had the same confused look when they told me they were going to use her own stem cells, and I thought, but she has cancer in her bone marrow. So essentially, what happened about a month ago now is after a big round of chemotherapy, which essentially the chemotherapy makes them what we call neutropenic, so it gets rid of all the white blood cells. It gets them so low, and that's why they're so susceptible for infection. What that also means is that they give a drug which is essentially a drug that stimulates the growth of stem cells, which are your baby cells that are brand new in your body, and bone marrow creates them. So they were given this drug for about 10 days, to be able to stimulate the growth, rapid growth. And then what they did is as soon as they measured the levels and as soon as the levels of those stem cells were high enough, they took them out of her body. Essentially a very similar process to when you give blood. So if you've ever given blood and they remove the blood and it goes through a machine, similar. And what they did is they separated out these stem cells and kept them and harvested them and pumped all the blood back into her body. So the stem cells that they've got are so brand new that the cancer had not even managed to touch them at that time. Okay. And that's what they will transplant back into her own body. It's still a transplant. She will still have to be in isolation in hospital for about 6 weeks. She will be exceptionally sick. Very, very, very sick. We've been told that and we're preparing ourselves for it.
When's that occurring?
That will occur in September when I'm about to give birth.
I was going to bring that up as well. You're holding your belly right now.
Yeah.
So how many months along are you at the moment?
26 weeks at this moment in time. So nearly 6 months.
14 more ish.
Yeah.
Nice.
So okay. I'm due to.
Congratulations.
Yeah. We're actually.
We are quite happy. We are not quite happy. We are really happy. It was
just bad timing.
It was a great thing, and then we found out about this. So yeah,
bad timing. So yes, Ava will be undergoing a stem cell transplant or bone marrow transplant at the same time as I am having a baby.
Life throws everything at you at once, hey?
Yes.
Okay. So you mentioned that there will be, she'll have to have isolation and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So I suppose there's a twofold question here what is the daily life with her when she's at home and sort of normal, quote unquote, in this sort of like post-chemo state? And what's life during chemo, if that makes sense? Like, as in, like you say, she has to be in the isolation. So maybe you could give me a little bit of a in-depth look at both of those states.
Yeah, of course. So Ava, I suppose it's really probably good to understand, especially people who have got children. You've got a child yourself. They're very, very active. They want to do lots of things, and generally parents want to do things with them. So you take them to swimming and you take them to Gymboree. And Ava had a very active lifestyle prior to being diagnosed, where she was out and socialized a lot. Well, every single day.
Always energy.
Yeah. We got her involved in multiple different things. She was a very social little girl, and we kept her that way to keep her happy and progress. Since the diagnosis, she can no longer do any of the activities that she was able to do prior. One of the main reasons for that is, well, A, she can't be in the water or swim because she has a central line that's put into her heart and it can't get wet.
Just what is that specifically?
So
like
it's
a medicine into the heart?
so it's tubes that have been put directly. So she has a hole in her chest,
Yeah.
and the tubes go directly into the heart.
Okay.
So it pumps the medicine all around the body. So they use those tubes to give her chemotherapy, to give her a lot of any drugs she needs.
So
and
rather
also
than
take
having
blood.
to be constantly injected, it's
Exactly.
just a direct line in. Okay.
Yeah, and it's direct line and it goes through the body, but it means that it can't get wet.
Can't go for a swim.
And she can't go for a swim, so she doesn't swim. And she can't do any of the other things because chemotherapy makes them very sick. So it kills off all their blood counts, which includes their white blood cells, so immunity. She has no immunity.
Is that a constant state of no immunity, or does her immunity sort of pop back up?
It pops back up slightly.
Yeah.
However, that's when she goes back in for more chemotherapy.
Yes.
So essentially, the chemotherapy is in 21-day cycles,
Yep.
starting from the day one of chemotherapy. So it tends to be every 2.5 weeks.
Okay.
Does that make sense? And then she has chemotherapy for 5 days.
Yep.
By the 6th day, she's what we class as neutropenic, so has absolutely no immune system whatsoever, is quite sick, which is what she is in right now.
Okay.
So we have to keep her out of places like supermarkets, any shops, shopping malls, away from anyone who may be sick. And what we tend to do to obviously try to entertain her is to do arts and crafts at home, try and engage her in different play at home, or we take her to the beach, or we can occasionally, depending on how well she is, we'll take her to the park when it's quiet. Essentially a lot of outdoor activities.
Yeah.
We then, she is in that neutropenic phase for about 7 to 10 days.
So in that first phase, would she not, like, no socialising with other young kids, I would imagine?
No,
So it's just sort of like you two and her, and that's it?
She really, since being diagnosed, has had very, very limited interaction with any other children, except the children on the chemotherapy ward.
Because they're all in that same situation.
Because they're all in that same situation, which is really sad, because she was a very social, active little girl, but it's what we have to do to keep her well. She, on occasions between the chemotherapy, she's very, very well. We have managed to take her out to the zoo, or the farm, or somewhere like that, where of course we're very careful with her coming into contact with the animals. But she loves animals, and it's something that she can do a bit of something a bit different for her. And then she just gets well enough, and she's feeling great again.
Back in the chemo,
and then she goes back into chemotherapy. Yeah,
and that's just been that cycle.
It's been that cycle for the 4 cycles that she's had so far. The chemotherapy makes her so sick in between that we always end up back in hospital, usually by about 5 days after we've left. And she either is back in hospitalised because she's got some sort of infection or something, or we have to go back in at the very least to have blood transfusions and platelet transfusions because she has her red blood cell count and platelet count is so low that she's at risk of bleeding, and has absolutely zero energy to the point where she can't really walk, because you need the red blood cells, of course, to have energy.
It's really nice to see that when we do go in on like a Wednesday and she has a blood transfusion, it's like her having
it's like super juice.
It's like super juice.
Yeah, we
like
go in
juice.
for a refill, and it gives her energy, which is amazing.
Yeah, she starts running around.
So that's something else we're very grateful for. Is without people donating blood, she's having blood transfusions already. In the last 2.5 months alone, she's had 7 or 8 blood transfusions, because she's really needed them, and of course that comes from people donating blood. So that's something else that we're very grateful for.
So I wanted to sort of get into her personality a little bit. She'll be. So you said she's walking around. She's talking now as well.
Yeah, she's really, really good at talking.
Really
actually,
good at
talking.
Yeah. So was she talking prior to coming down?
Yeah,
she was.
She's Ava is a very really, really bright 2-year-old, and the doctors have even said that she's really advanced for her age. So she has a really, really good understanding of everything that's going on, but she is also able to communicate exceptionally well.
Yeah.
So she communicates with that of more than a 3-year-old.
Oh, well.
Yeah, so she had full conversations with Ava, and she was able to talk like that prior as well.
So how aware is she of everything that's happening?
So she is very aware. The hard
Because
part
like
is...
you think of a 2-year-old, like I've got a 1.5-year-old, and like before I had a kid, a 1.5-year-old seemed like a little baby fresh out. Like you have no concept of what a child is and isn't from like baby until they're in, you know, teenager. Like that's all blends, you know. But now my son's just started. He said his first couple of words. He said cheese and he said car.
Oh.
He said my brother's name before he said my name. So you're saying that she's got quite the vocabulary, and she's aware of what's happening. Maybe you can share a little bit about how she's sort of herself is dealing with.
Ava's a very, very strong little girl, and exceptionally feisty. Always say she's very sassy. Ava she's dealt with it well. The hard thing is she has a very good awareness, and she knows what she wants and what she doesn't want. So she gets very, very upset, of course, with all of the treatments that are going on and the things that she has to have. She has to undergo things that most adults have not even undergone, and she's only 2 years old, so she gets very upset. However, she makes it known, so she shouts at the nurses. She tells them to get out, lady, and she doesn't like blood pressure, so if they go near with a blood pressure cuff, she goes, no blood pressure, and she screams at them. She knows exactly what everything is, stethoscope, everything. She has full conversations essentially with them.
That's amazing. Wow.
And the doctor, the main specialist oncologist, is her friend. She actually tells us that she loves Dr. Jordan and he's her best friend. They're her words.
That's lovely.
But he doesn't have to do any of the nasty treatments that the nurses have to do, unfortunately. So
that's probably why.
They're friends. Yeah. So she's still, even throughout all of this, she's exceptionally strong. She still has, you know, really good days and times where even when she's being pumped with chemo, she's still happy, still smiling, still laughing and playing. The hard part is that, you know, she can communicate with you or us very well and tells us that she wants to go home. She doesn't want to go to hospital. And is essentially begging us. And it's awful for us to hear because we can't do anything about it. She has to stay. The hard part is she's only 2, so she doesn't have that emotional understanding, the ability to understand that the things that we are doing to her are for her benefit. Yeah, she just knows that she is being treated like this, you know, and probably doesn't understand why. And that's very, very hard as a parent. In fact, that's probably the hardest part, is knowing what we're pumping into her is meant to be helping to keep her alive, but at the same time,
if she's screaming about it and hating life, it's hard to know.
It's exceptional. It's very, very difficult. You feel really awful as a parent, very guilty.
I want to go down just a little bit of a more personal path for you guys. When something like this happens, it's life still goes on, right? So, you know, if something happens in your personal life, you still have to pay the bills, you've still got work, you've still got your other family issues, everything's still going.
Yeah.
And now you've got this extra thing. And now you've got another little thing growing as well. So there's a couple of questions, or maybe you can share both of your experiences on this in the sense of how do you maintain some semblance of yourself beyond or separate to this whole situation, and how do you sort of keep that sort of self-care situation going? You just came back from a massage, which is great.
Yes.
But yeah, how do you stay sane in this situation? Just managing it, you know? Yeah,
it's I can only speak for myself. Obviously, James can speak for himself in a moment. For me, it's incredibly difficult. It's so I. actually already suffer from anxiety.
Yeah.
So, and with Ava, when she was first born, I did have postnatal depression as well, which I'm glad to say that I did manage to get through, and that's fine. I have found that my anxiety was very controlled until this happened.
Yeah.
And it has thrown up a lot of that anxiousness again. So that's something now that I have to try and work through is the anxiety that I have, because now I have all those what I had when she was a newborn. You know, is she breathing? Is she constantly worrying about her because how ill she is? It's that the constant 24-hour care of Ava and wondering how she is and when does she need her next medicines, you know, has she got a temperature, do we need to take her back to hospital, has she spiked a fever, I'm pregnant, and of course she's undergoing chemotherapy, so she's what we class as cytotoxic, which is essentially highly toxic to rapidly dividing cells in the body, which is why people lose their hair. A baby growing in a woman is a rapidly dividing cells, so it's quite dangerous for pregnant women. So I can't come into contact with Ava's bodily fluids at all. When she's undergoing chemo and for about 10 days afterwards. I don't change her nappies. Unfortunately, if she vomits, you know, the first thing that you want to do is pick them up and cuddle them because she's very upset, and I can't do that. I can't come into contact with her saliva, with her sweat, nothing.
And that's for that 15-day.
So in total it's about 15 days.
And then the cycle comes again, just remind me.
And then pretty much the cycle comes again.
Far out.
So that's also something that me personally I battle with, because I feel guilty on the baby inside, that and worrying and panicking of, you know, what am I going to be doing to this child if I am exposed, but also feeling guilty for Ava because she wants me and I'm her mum, and I feel that, you know, in times, say like when she's being sick because of the chemotherapy, I can't touch her, and she's probably sat there, you know, thinking, why won't mummy hold me? And I can't, and that is really, really upsetting as well. So there's always like I think for me personally as a parent with a child undergoing this, there's a lot of battles internally with feeling guilt for what you're putting them through. But also knowing that really you have no other choice if you want them to survive. And it is a constant battle, and something that every single day bothers me, I suppose. How do I get through it? Well, it's kind of one of those things, I guess, is that until you're actually in the situation, you think that you'd never be able to, and then you just have to.
One step at a time, deal with it as it comes.
Yeah, and it really is. It's just one step at a time. And we do have hard days, and I have really down days, and it's very upsetting and it's very overwhelming. But you do just have to deal with it. We have help. So we do have a psychologist who has been provided to us by the Royal Children's Hospital. So they do that for all the cancer families, which is really good. And we do speak to her when we can, when we're in the hospital. And that is helpful somewhat, just to be able to release more than anything else, I guess.
100%.
Prior to Ava's diagnosis, I loved to do yoga, meditation. We tried to really get into meditation, and I have to admit, since that, it's very hard to focus my mind or find any time to do these things. But I know for me that they're the things that really help me. Finding the time to find the time. I'm adamant that I'm going to do them again because I know that they would offer me a little bit of peace. I've just got to really push myself to do them because it did make a big difference to me. I use the apps for meditation and things on my phone, and that really did help.
Which apps do you use?
I have a couple of apps. I have to try and remember what they're called. I have Headspace and Insight Timer is the other one that I use.
I might put those links or just mention them in the show notes below. So Headspace and Insight Timer. Calm is also another good one, but the thing is with Calm is you do have to pay a subscription if you want to kind of really use the whole lot. So it depends on how serious you are. It's very good, but you have to pay. Insight Timer is a bit more free and offers so many different types of meditations and mantras, everything. There's all kinds on there. So I'm a massive advocate of meditation for all kinds of situations and just calming yourself down. I noticed at the event yesterday, you had a lot of support from the community that came, and a lot of them were coming to compete. But then obviously a lot of the people at the gym itself would know you and know your story and that sort of stuff. How have you found the journey from the diagnosis and to now in terms of self-care and then community support and that sort of stuff, James?
I think before Ava was diagnosed, I was Ava and I were very active, very social. We would go to the gym, and she would go to the crash maybe 4 or 5 days a week. I would go to jiu-jitsu 5 days a week. Do a few runs and things like that. Since then,
Took her to the gym with you, like on the
yeah,
mats.
there's she would.
They love the soft mats and play around.
Yeah, she'd just run around the gym. She loved it. She, like I say, she's a social butterfly. I think one of the most beautiful things to me about Ava, and still now, is she loves going up to just random strangers and talking to them and giving them cuddles and making them smile.
But that's been hard for you, hasn't it? Because you're so active.
Yeah.
Social.
Yeah. I've definitely. I don't. I guess I probably feel a bit numb now. I don't do really anything right now. I want to get back into a few things. I can't do it at the same level I did, but I feel for my own long-term well-being that I need to do stuff, as in probably jiu-jitsu, a little bit of running and some gym. It just helps
physically
me.
Moving.
Yeah, it really helps me feel great on a daily basis, day in, day out. And now I'm not doing anything. I've slipped into maybe old habits of stress eating. I just eat to make myself feel better, and it's not really helping. So, I guess I feel numb, and I don't really know who I am so much anymore. I'm so focused on Ava and Ava's care, and being there for her and doing what she needs to do. But I do realise that to be available for Ava, I need to look after myself.
So there was. I wanted to sort of address like community and family support and that sort of stuff, because what I saw yesterday was a community of people coming together for jiu-jitsu and for supporting you guys. And that's obviously was my first introduction. Seems like a worthy cause, obviously, and hopefully people can get something out of this interview and podcast as well. How has the, I suppose, family, friends and general community response and support been thus far? And sort of what are you hoping for moving forward as well?
It's been amazing overall, really. James and I actually don't have any family here, so as everyone can probably have noticed from our accents, we're actually from the UK, but we've been here for about 3 years now.
Yeah.
And we plan to stay permanently. So all of our family are actually in the UK, and we don't have any here. What we have got, though, is some really close friendship networks that we've built over the years, and some that have really only just started from Ava's diagnosis. And we have found that the community of where we live, so Bayside area and beyond, have been unbelievably supportive. From the moment that people learned about the diagnosis, they immediately started to rally together to help. Our closest friends got other people, it's their friends and friends of friends, all coming together. They were making us meals. They were coming to visit us in the hospital all the time. My closest friend was ensuring that I was eating every day. She was actually driving to the hospital out in her lunch break to make sure that I was fed. And just generally, people have reached out to us offering any sort of support we could possibly need.
So even just something as simple as making a meal, I would imagine would be just the biggest. Just like it seems like such a small little gesture, but if you're struggling with something this big, particularly when it first happened, you haven't got the routine down. You're sort of just being thrown into it.
Yeah.
You don't. Eating's the last thing from your mind, and people are coming around.
Exactly.
hot meal, here you go.
Yeah,
Eat
they
this.
really did. And it made, we didn't realise how important even that would be. And it really was. And of course, now we're 2.5 months in, we've got a little bit more of a routine.
Still so early. Like, it's just, I don't know, talking to you guys, it feels, I don't know, like, it feels like you've been going through this for years.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm sure it does probably feel like
It
a
does.
long time, but
I think the first 3 weeks were like crazy, and like we
They
were
were
driving
crazy.
home every day crying. Whenever we went around Ava, we would cry. We introduced like a rule with ourselves that we couldn't cry in front of her because
Yeah.
we didn't want her to, her personality to change and her to take on board our feelings and fears.
So it was good to have that help, especially in those
Yeah.
first month or so, because we just were a mess. We really were. And people were there, and it made a huge, just a simple meal just made such a difference. The community has been absolutely amazing. And particularly, it's still ongoing now. 2.5 months later, people are still willing to help, even with food if we want food. But particularly at this moment in time with our cause. So the fact that we're fundraising to make the money to ensure that Ava can have the vaccine, people are really, really helping with that. We've got like the MMA gym, Adrenaline, helping, but general people as well. One of my closest friends is going to shave her head. She actually works for L'Oreal. She's a very beautiful lady, and what she does is hair, and she's going to shave her head, so it's a big deal for her. But we have Fitness First gyms. They're also doing fundraising. People just who we've never even met are donating, anything from small amounts to really large amounts of money to Ava's GoFundMe page, which we're completely, we're so grateful for and overwhelmed. People I've never even heard of, random strangers donating sometimes quite large amounts, and we are so grateful because it's something that I never thought I would ever have to ask for, and it really does. It doesn't sit well with me that I have to ask people for money, but I also know that's the only way we can do it. So I'm so grateful that people want to help, so willing to help.
So I'll put a link to the GoFundMe at the bottom of the show notes of this one, and wherever I post it, I'll put that link there as well.
Thank you.
What I want to suggest to people, if they're listening, we'll call the interview to an end now, and maybe if I'm going away on holidays, but maybe when we come back, we could do a follow-up and see how we're going. If anyone wants to contribute and you can afford to donate, please head over to the GoFundMe, check it out, give what you can. If you can't give anything, you can give your support by sharing this or sharing the GoFundMe page or just reaching out and asking what you can do directly to help. Because I know that not everyone listening has the money to support, but you all can easily click that share button or for this podcast or for the GoFundMe page, or just tell someone or reach out. And beyond that, if anyone's listening and you know someone that could help, either link up James and Leanne with someone else that has gone through it, or potentially, if anyone knows someone that could do further interviews or just boost this a little bit more, that would be helpful. So check out the GoFundMe account, share this, and reach out and make contact. I'll put the link to the Facebook page as well.
Thank you.
What's the Facebook page?
So the Facebook page is, you can put in Ava's Journey.
Ava's Journey?
Or it has an at.
Ava's Neuroblastoma Journey.
At Ava's Neuroblastoma Journey.
So I'll put a link to that in the show notes as well, just so you can click directly through that. And hopefully we can raise some more, raise the total funds and get through it and bring it up, and hopefully see Ava heading to America quite a few times to get the treatments and make a full recovery. So I'd like to wish you both luck.
Thank you very
both
much.
With Ava and with the new baby.
Thank you very much.
Thanks
We're really
for being
grateful.
on. Appreciate it.